Good morning, friends. We are doing paper flowers finally. Let's talk kits. Let's talk expectations. Not a master paper flower maker, so just making with y'all, really just exploring a fun craft outside of journaling. And honestly, a lot of these fun things you could add to your journal as a little stick in or an add in. I made this out of storybook paper, so another fun way to kind of use up some pages from books that you might have laying around. So let's talk about kits. Kits, you got an assortment of papers, textures, sizes, colors. You don't need big things to make these paper flowers. So we're making lots of circles, basically. So yeah, again, colors. You got paper. You got maybe some crepe paper, maybe some construction paper, maybe coffee filters and cupcake liners were my absolute favorites to work with. Easy to manipulate, easy to color. You got paints, you got glue, you got a quilling tool. We're not doing quilling today, but that's what this paper's for. This is quilling paper. Everyone got a bundle of quilling paper to practice with. It definitely is a skill you should practice learning before you start assembling. And you know, it can be intimidating, but it's still fun. It's a paper craft. So let's get into the first level. I'm trying to make small videos, so we do like one flower video and not overwhelm you with too much information. And also because I don't have a ton of information. So let's first talk about dyeing your paper. A lot of the paper flowers, in order to get that kind of effect of like faded color, you're going to need to dye your paper. Specifically if you're using the coffee filters, which was one of my favorite things to work with, or paper towels. So I have some coffee filters to the side here. I like to fold them into triangles, and this is where we can color. So you can either use your paint and thin it out in water, and you can dip the very edges in, dip, 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 dip. And what happens is the color will spread up, and then what you want to do is let these dry for a day or two. You open them all up. You can leave them closed too if you want. It doesn't matter. You just want them to dry so that you can then work with them. Another way you can add color to these is to actually just color them. So for instance, this is a paint marker. Very easy to come in on the edges and just start adding in some color. You'll see that. Adding in color along the edges here. Doesn't need to be like perfect. Nothing in nature is like, well, nature is perfect, but like it doesn't need to be, right? So what that does is just add a little color to the edges. So when we put this all together, you have a little display. What you can do too is once you've colored these, if you want, you can dip them in a little bit of alcohol. Alcohol does the same spreading effect. Just make sure if you are using any type of water, color, or paint like that, you let these all dry before you start rolling. One other trick is if you want to make these a little more sturdier is to add a little dollop of Mod Podge into your watercolor. And then when this dries, that glue will be on here and it makes it a little more firmer to play with, okay? So let's start with a quick and easy flower tutorial. We're gonna make this one today. This is used with a cupcake liner, and this is used with a coffee filter. I did use some tin foil to help make the ball in the middle, so you will need to grab that if you want to have the ball effect here, like the little pollen. And then I used obviously one of our skewers. So, and then with paper flowers, the more papers you use, the fuller your flower is. This is 2 pieces of coffee filter. So I could do 6, and this would be a much bigger flower, something along that size. This is not a paper flower. I'm just letting y'all know I did not make this. This is one of the flowers for our mailers, but it's gorgeous and it's here. We are going to be learning some of the other ones that I did make. So let's get into this. All right, one of the first things you're going to need is to make that ball. So grab some tin foil, just make a ball, and you're going to want to pop that onto your skewer. Granted, when you use these, make sure, you can, when you're done, you can break the end off, so it doesn't need to be this long. Wherever you make your flower, just break the rest off. I might have even broken them for you. All right, so we got a stick here. I'm going to Mod Podge the end. Let's get a little more Mod Podge in my dish. I'm making quicker videos because YouTube takes forever to upload. It might take me all day to upload this video, y'all. So I have to make quicker videos. Long videos are just not efficient. All right, so what I'm doing is Mod Podging the end. And then I like to take crepe paper. You can use whatever paper, but I do like the crepe. I'm liking this orange right now, and I'm going to cover the end. Okay, so it just makes like the little pollen ball. My cats are doing something funny in the house right now. Grabbing some more, and I'm just gonna add another layer, right? So all I want is a ball, and I can tear away the rest of the stuff. Don't need any of that. Just make sure it's on there pretty good. Okay. Oh, it's all showing right here. Let me see if I can cover that. The good thing with like crepe paper and Mod Podge, you just, it's like paper mache. You just keep layering it and layering it. Okay, so now that this is on, let's get our cupcake liner. So I'm using yellow as my inside. And I am going to take my paint marker and I'm going to add a little yellow to the edges, and it's going to just make it a little more profound. I wish I had like a golden yellow. This is a bright yellow, but for this purposes, this will work. You know what? Yeah, this is fine. Okay. I'm not going to cut my edges on this because this is my inside piece, and it seems for me as a paper flower, there's more stability on the inside petals. So I'm opening it up, cutting down the middle to the middle. I'm stopping in the middle. You see that? I'm going to grab some Mod Podge. I'm going to get that middle, going down the edges, Mod Podging it, and I'm going to grab my stick. Goes into the middle. And I'm going to start, I want this edge to stick, and then I'm going to start twirling and twisting the paper around my stick. And you've got glue on it, so it's going to stay. Squeeze the end, squeeze down here as you're rolling. All right? And this is going to make our inside. Now, how tight you roll it is going to dictate how it looks once it's in. And then this is where you're going to start manipulating. This is where you see what you see in your flower. What I see and what you see might be two different things. So this is my inside. And now I'm going to use my coffee filters. I'm going to do a little yellow on the edges of these to go with that yellow theme. And because this is a paint marker, I don't need to let this dry. And I'm not letting it spread on this one. I'm just showing, you know what? Wrong thing. Because what I want to actually do is cut my edge here first. This has like a more, you see how it's a little more, not so, the edge is more, I don't know, delicate. This is a little rougher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm just going to like kind of wavy line cut the end of this to make it a little more delicate. This is the part, the cutting of the end, where you're going to get shape in your flower. Because if you cut this into a petal or you cut it, this is when you roll it and undo it, you're going to find that different flower shapes are going to start coming out. So now, after I cut the edges, I'm going to come in with my paint. And I'm going to do a few of these. So, here's another one. Again, I'm just doing kind of like a wavy cut on the end of my flower here. Not trying to like make rough edges, but delicate edges. See, this is just round. You can roll it up to look fine. It'll look like a coffee filter. If you want to have some flower definition, you got to add some shape. Okay, so now I've got 3 here. Color the edges. Add some color into this so when we unfold it. Okay. All right, let's undo these. So when you do go to make these, and if you color these with watercolor or you paint the edge, whatever you end up doing, just make piles. Make a bunch of piles of the colors that you want in the theme. So if you wanted to do a yellow and purple bouquet, make a bunch of yellows, make a bunch of purples. Do them ahead of time because doing it this way is a little crazy. All right, so here's our inside. Same thing like the other. We're going to just cut down the middle. I'm going to do them for all of them while I'm here. Cut down to the middle. Cut down to the middle. All right, I got my stack ready. Let's add some glue onto here. Definitely down the middle, around the base. Stick your flower in the middle. Maneuver the one side, you kind of need to use your hand to maneuver it in there to stick. And the rest is all about the rolling. The squeezing, the rolling, how tight you do it, how loose you do it is where you're going to get the structure of your flower. All right, that was one. Let's do another. Into the middle. Attach that glued edge, and I'm squeezing, rolling, squeezing, rolling, squeezing. Okay, I got one more I'm going to add in. Mod Podge the middle, Mod Podge the ends, just a little bit here and there to make sure it sticks. Last one in. Into the middle, into the middle. You see that? Maneuver the one side on so it sticks to something. And start rolling, twisting, squeezing all at the same time. And then I'm going to go like that. And then I'm just going to start opening it back up. Tightening stuff if I want it tightened. Flattening it if I want it flattened. And I just think they're so fun. What you can then also do is paint your stem. I'm going to break mine because it doesn't need to be this big. You can paint your stem green. You can add green tape to it. You can add, color it, you know, whatever you want to do. The other thing you can do is add, this is too small. I don't have green paper. You can cut out a base for the bottom. I'm just gonna use purple right now. But if you just do like zigzag edges here, I wish I had green, but you know, I'm just showing you the idea. Mod Podge. What I'm making is just kind of like a little mountain range. And what you can do is come down at the base and you can twist it around, and what it's going to do is give you a little structure down at the bottom, kind of like you would. Now granted, if this was green it would look way better, and I have way too much. Let me take some of that off. But the idea is you can add color down to your bottom, and the big, I don't think this is nearly enough paper. Scratch that idea, guys. See, learning with you. I have to get green and it has to be bigger. That wasn't enough. So anyways, this was the idea for your first flower here. The more you do, the bigger your bouquet, the prettier it becomes. I kind of like think of this as a, like, I don't know, kind of like a poppy in some way. It looks like poppies to me. And then again, if you wanted to be fun, you cut out one of your circles and you can pop them in the middle. I'd manipulate them a little bit, make them look round, so when you glue them in. So this is your first paper flower. Have fun. Blues, purples, greens, yellows. Don't stick to, you know, this is white and yellow, kind of like a daffodil. But again, you know, it's endless, the possibilities. These are also fun. You can pop one into your journal. You can make a little pin out of it and attach it. So I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think. Happy crafting. Okay? Have a great day.